Are we on? We are on.
Yeah.
There's no games.
Open.
You what? You messed up the cold open?
No, I'm saying it's quiet today. I feel like we were like,
well, because there's no games. There's like 5 games.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I got to rush to do this stuff in, and like the best play that we have, like best play I have, like you and I like, and then the second best play is at 9:30. So, like it's sort of like I don't even care. So
such a weird schedule. Like, why doesn't baseball on, at least when you're getting into either the start of new series or you're ending a 4-game set, why aren't they doing games at like 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock? Like we have this island Baltimore Orioles game and Guardians at 1, and then you don't have any games until 6.
And there's no games till 6. And then yesterday, everything started at noon and was done by 7.
Yeah.
It was
they had like what 3 games? I think that it was like 6.
They were done by the time you and I
putting
talked.
More money on this Athletics and Rangers game, which ended up doing pretty well for me. But
yeah, I had the opposite read, and it did not go well. I did not have a good day yesterday, but anyway, it's fine. It was whenever that happens, everyone says, "Well, you were due," and I'm like, "Well." All right, this is Dad's Bet Baseball. That was
our podcast listeners really appreciate that gesture.
Yeah. The 90-second cold open. This is Dad's Bet Baseball. Adam Rosenberg, with me as always is my co-host CJ Buskey, aka Slippin' Jimmy, and CJ. So first of all, I'm really stoked that about our guest. I'm gonna gas our guest up. So Anthony Dabbundo from The Ringer, formerly of Action Network, used to be one of the co-hosts of Payoff Pitch. Really, just also a Syracuse guy. Really good. Well, really good at soccer. Really good at baseball, and just kind of looks at baseball in a way that I've always respected. He's also a Philly kid. I love him. He's coming in, and we're going to talk trade deadline. He's our Buster Olney, so it's going to be great. So we're going to get to talk to him about that stuff. And but I want to talk right away about something. I want to talk about your Mets real quick. So and this is not me. It's not going to be me being sad about, I didn't get my Manaea K's yesterday. But something I did notice that you told me not to worry about is that so on Baseball Savant, this is a great way to watch games in addition to watching them is you have Baseball Savant up in front of you because you can look at the pitch velo live and you can see what's going on. I noticed 92, 93 standard. He was topping, I believe, at 93. Manaea stuff. Yeah. Second start. What is it? Second start off IL.
Cool. It's his third start off the IL, but to be fair, I think his first start, they treated him more as like a reliever in that start. Like this is like, I would say it was his second like full start.
Right. It felt like it was his second full start. And then, so anyway, he came out firing. I think he had 3 Ks in the first 5 batters or something like that. And then he didn't get it. And it was almost like he hit a wall. And when I looked at it, his velo dipped hard in the 4th inning. So basically at pitch 60, nothing went over 90 miles per hour. It seemed like there was a very clear thing. And I said, is this cause for concern? And you said what?
So I thought, one, you were just being a little bit feisty because of that K
because I lost.
And that was my initial thought. I was like, Adam's just looking for an excuse on the K prop. The other thing I said was this guy had barely pitched until middle of June. So Manaea came into camp. He had a lat injury, which we all know for pitchers. When you hear lat, that is very bad. You see lat injury, they're going to be out for some time. So he was expected to miss the first 2 months. I think the thing you forgot was that he had a setback in May when they were getting ready for him to start to rehab. And then he had to sit down basically another month. So he didn't end up really starting to throw until he didn't even start really throwing like simulated games or anything until middle of June. And then he started to get into his rehab starts. I have to go back and look and see exactly how many, but he did get a decent number of rehab starts, especially with Syracuse before they decided to call him up. However, they also had the All-Star break in between then too. So he started against the Royals or had that like 3 innings of relief, All-Star break, another weird kind of, week off in between getting ready to start throwing for games, and then came back against the Reds through 4 innings, and then came back against the Angels yesterday and through 5. So that was my initial pushback. But looking at Manaea specifically, and more so just kind of to go off when you see a velo drop, some other things you want to look for.
I'm pulling up his minor league game log as you're talking because I want to see the swinging strikes.
Yeah, I'd like to see that and see like what was his whiff rate and stuff in the minors, because I didn't get to pull that up. But the thing that I thought was interesting, or at least makes me concerned as a Mets fan, is when I'm looking at his pitch mix from last season and where you're really getting a lot of your pitching run value. Manaea, one of the big things, everybody talked about him switching to the Chris Sale delivery last season, and that made such a big difference from a guy that kind of had really been seen as sort of a journeyman. And part of that was because he threw an awesome sinker. He had a 10 in the pitching run value when it came to his sinker. Hasn't thrown a single sinker yet in any of his starts or relief appearances yet this season. Now, again, he hasn't thrown a lot, but that was a pitch that made up 25% of his pitch mix last season. And as you pointed out, a sinker is not a pitch that is usually going to be painful to throw.
Right. It shouldn't.
Can you explain that?
Basically, when you throw a sinker while yes, there's every pitch you throw has something to do with your elbow. It doesn't contort. You're not spinning with an elbow. You're getting drop on the ball. It's really the Angels are actually, like, generally the Angels and the Phillies are like really good sinker hitting teams because they have guys that can put a lot of lift to the ball. Like when you have a sinker, effectively what happens is that the velo stops and the ball drops. It's a sinker. And it kind of masks that it's going to keep going straight and it just drops out. And players that have really good fly ball rates, not great line drive rates, can hit a lot of home runs off of that. So like Bryce Harper effing loves sinkers. Like he eats them. And like Joe Adele loves a sinker. So the thing is that it's not one that should be causing pain. It's not a curveball. It's it's not a velo pitch. So it's a little bit of spin, but it's not like torque. I'm looking at some of the stuff. I'm not trying to get over alarmed, because also keep in mind he resurrected his career with the Mets last year. I'm also willing to give him like a little, like he wasn't like he was
sure.
Like these last couple of years have been up and down, and he was arguably the ace of staff. His swinging strikes went down in all 3 rehab starts. First one, 99 days rest, as you mentioned. Second one, 4 days rest. Second one, 4 days rest. Third one after that, 4 days rest. So he's been on 4 days rest on all of these. He didn't have a ton of swinging strikes yesterday, so 12. So it's not terrible. But I don't know. It's, to me, it just I had asked you if it was his first home start, because I thought he might be a little bit juiced. Like, hey, like this and this.
Yeah, but it feels second calculated because he had the one against Cincinnati.
Right. Yeah. And it feels calculated. So I'm just a little bit concerned, because the whole thing that I think centers on this Mets team, you had texted me the other day. It's so weird because I'm like a Phillies fan, but I'm like a secret Mets fan just because like I really like this team and I like their vibe. Like I want a Pete Alonso jersey. Like they want us like $1,200 last year. So like on the playoffs alone, even though we lost every other bet.
I feel like I'm like Stockholm syndrome at this point with the Phillies, because I just talk about them so much with you and on this show that I'm like, oh, I feel like I know these guys.
So okay. So then what happens is they so to speed this up a little bit, they lost kind of a vibe. The vibe isn't really there. And, having your leadoff hitter who last year was having an MVP season being 0 for 30 probably does a lot of that. But I expect the vibe to change, because Manaea is kind of that whole leader. And he's like,
he's the tribal leader. He was a huge guy to bring back.
Yeah, like shout out OTC, to everyone who watches Roman Reigns. But like, that is something that is a little concerning for me about this Mets team, which is why I kind of like that we have back in pocket them to get the 6th seed.
Yeah, I mean, part of the cap, or the reason that I wasn't panicking whenever we were talking with Jeff, shout out to Jeff, the second straight show we're giving you a call out on the slump that they had in June, was the big reason for their slump was that they just didn't have the pitching. They lost Senga, they lost Manaea, they had just lost Canning. Now you're getting these guys back. So now you have Senga back, you have Manaea back. You've got, really like this is the rotation that the Mets wanted coming into the season with Senga, Manaea, Holmes, Peterson, and Montas. Who Montas, like to his credit, has looked at least like serviceable as a fifth starter in his last couple of starts. But if Manaea is not going to be, if there is something really off with him, and I think after the next start is when, if things are still looking weird, he's not throwing any sinkers, his velo is still considerably down, that's when I'm going to start to really worry. If he isn't going to be like a number 2 type of starter, and the way that this team really hasn't hit the way that we've been expecting them, besides Soto and Alonso's pretty up and down, then I think that we have to rethink what their ceiling could be. Because I think we've put them in sort of this tier where they were in the top 3 or 4 teams all season. And now I'm beginning to kind of question if we should be putting them in that tier. Still got to give them some more time to see if Manaea can figure that out. I like the 6 seed bet still that we have in pocket. By the way, they're only 2.5 games behind the Brewers to catch them. So the Brewers would be in the 5th seed, which we just gave out on the last show. So it's not like
there's a world where we lose both of these bets. It's great.
Okay. Yeah. Well, both the teams missed the playoffs. I mean, the Brewers are only 2.5 games up on the Mets for as well as the Brewers have played. And the Brewers are leading the National League in record right now. So that's important to call out. But in terms of velo, I guess to put a bow on it, you're going to see, if you see a pitcher with a reduction to velo, especially if their first start off of injury, definitely an opportunity for a bet the next time, because there is a pretty strong track record of a correlation with higher ERA, higher BABIP, higher WHIP when you have a lower velo coming off of extended rest or an injury, or someone's working on their mechanics. Go back and look at Aaron Nola starts this year. Go back and look at even Zach Wheeler in the World Series 2022 had a drop in velo, had a bad game coming out of that one. So there's examples across all the board on this, but I would just kind of point that out. If you see a pitcher coming off injury, you see a little bit of lower velo, that next start, there is a strong correlation on higher ERA and higher WHIP. We can kind of pivot to the next thing. I was going to say 2 guys that are not having lower velo would be our friends Charlie Morton and Logan Allen.
Oh yeah. Well, hold on, wait. I was going to say this because I was going to say, do you want to do this? This is, by the way, excellent segue. You are a podcast expert. I'm moving right into it. Let's bring in Dabbundo now and let's do it. Trade stuff now. Let's do that now. What's up, buddy?
How's it going?
Good, man. When I saw your picks at the game the other night and you guys all had the Nelly Band-Aids on, I saw all that before I realized that there was the Nelly concert going on there. I was like, why is Dabbundo wearing the Nelly Band-Aid with all his friends? But you guys got to see, he played on they just let everybody just hang out on the field and watch the game.
I actually didn't even know. I didn't even know until the day of. I texted a friend. I have partial season tickets. And so I usually just text different people, who wants to come with me to the game. And my friend was like, oh, it's Nelly. I was like, what? And sure enough, he was performing. And then it was a 20-minute intermission in between the game ending, and they had to, bring the stuff on the field. Some people you could buy field passes to go on the field. I was just in my seats. But this woman was handing out Band-Aids, everybody in our section, these stickers. They weren't really true Band-Aids, but we all wore them under the eye for Nelly. And then most of the other people didn't have these. So when I walked out of the stadium, people were like, that was crazy. You actually brought one of those? I was like, well, somebody handed it to me. I'm not that much of a planner. But yeah, Nelly didn't play enough of the hits. And it's always kind of weird with the acoustics in a ballpark because they obviously weren't set up for a concert. So it was okay. It was cool to see, a free concert after a Phillies game, Phillies win.
To kind of put, first of all, to put a stamp on how much older than you I am, and also a Syracuse connection. I first heard Nelly my freshman year at a party on South Campus because at Halloween '99. And
now you're making me feel really old, Adam.
I know. And somebody, this is and somebody
or really young for that matter,
was playing Ride With Me. I'm like, this song's a banger. And yeah, and it's just hilarious. But But look, dude, it's awesome to finally get you on. You are extremely knowledgeable in baseball. You are probably one of the few noted Aaron Nola stands that are left. But
we still have a lot of real estate there.
We'll get to that. But first thing, I wanted to bring you in on and talk about. So I gave you a couple players just to kind of think about who do you think? Give me two notable players you just think are absolutely gone, where they should go, and if you're and then we can kind of talk about it. There's like a future that comes out of it. This is almost like the Brandon Anderson style of podcasts of like, if this happens, then what do you need to do to bet it? But I'd love to know who you think. I have leaked out stuff that is not true. It's no joke. I've been shipping after last night, I changed my opinion, but ship Ranger Suarez and sell high. I have deals that have Tyler O'Neill coming to the Phillies, but you are a lot more in it than I am and know what's going on. So who do you think actually gets moved and some teams that might be involved?
Well, I guess the question I always like to ask is like, who's the best player that gets traded?
Yeah,
I feel like it's kind of obvious this year.
Gino Suarez as much as everybody, but people would argue with Gino Suarez.
It has to be.
I was going to say market says Gino, but
market says Gino.
I would disagree.
I just don't
Gino
like
is the best player that gets moved. Yeah, unless to me, if Joe Ryan is actually serious in that equation, then I would say he is the best player.
Which I can't understand why they would do that.
They're just going to deal him. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I would probably say it's Suarez, and especially since the Snakes have lost 3 in a row here. They're 3 games under. They're 5.5 out. Like in the American League, you could maybe squint and convince yourself that you're still in the race. But in the National League, like they're, like I said, 5.5 out. They don't have Burns anymore, and they would be foolish, I think, not to trade him. So I think he is getting moved. Now, the question you have to ask is like, is he actually as good as maybe people think?
Right.
Now, his first half was an outlier relative to what we've seen from Suarez for years. I don't think you can just plug him in and say, yeah, he's going to hit 20 homers in the second half of the season. Just kind of but this week he's hit like 4 or 5 more homers. So
he reads all the tweets. He's like the Joel Embiid of things, and then he comes out.
Exactly. And so like Mitch Keller, is he a needle mover for the Mets? Like Sandy Alcantara to the Mets? Like I'm just going to mock every pitcher to the Mets.
Yeah.
They seem to be the best team.
Please, Anthony, because we need pitchers. So
could Mitch Keller go to the Bronx? Because I'm looking, or even right now, I was joking. I'm going up to the Bronx on Friday, and I was joking with JJ John Jastrzemski from New York, because we're going together. And I was like, wow, real murderer's row for the Yankees this weekend. Will Warren, Marcus Stroman, and Cam Schlitter. I mean, Phillies are going to be up against it. I think it's crazy how thin their rotation got this year with Schmidt going down, and of course the preseason stuff. So I feel like both New York teams badly need starting pitching. So maybe the Yankees come in with like a Godfather type offer for Joe Ryan, and he becomes the best player that gets moved. But I still think it probably just ends up being Suarez. Or if you think Alcantara is back, like is Sandy back? What do we think?
I think Sandy will be back. I mean, I think it's a very low amount of time based on injury. I think we did see the best of Sandy. I think his worst is we saw, or like on his immediate comeback, but I think Sandy is still a capable, like 2. I don't know if he's the same kind of ace stuff anymore. If we do it, that's going to be next year, because that's going to be so much more removed from the injury. But I mean, the best rumor I had heard on Sandy was with the guys from Talking Baseball had pushed him to Toronto, which I kind of loved. But Keller, you mentioned Keller. Keller feels like a Yankee. Like he just kind of gives me the idea of like a guy, like it reminds me a lot of when they had Jim Montgomery and then his career died after that. But he's like that kind of player that just, he's been under the radar, but his there's a lot that you can see about him that can help carry. The thing is about the Yankees, like they're also going to get, they're probably also counting on the fact like they're going to get Luis Gil. They're going to get some bodies back, but I feel like if they don't come away with some all-in pitcher, then it's complete failure. Gino Suarez, though, to me is like, I'm in the same boat as you. I don't know if he's as good as everybody thinks he is. I see him as, he was a platoon player in Seattle when he left. It's
the ultimate buy high.
Yeah. It's the ultimate buy high.
He's a cheap. He's a rental, right? So you're not like buying him for what he might be next year.
Yeah, that's fair. So who would you rather? Okay, so who would you rather have from that D-backs team then? You would Naylor or Gino?
What's Naylor's control situation? He has multiple years, right?
He's also he's a free
he's
agent.
a rental.
No, he's a free agent. Yeah,
everyone
and the
they
Diamondbacks,
have
for their credit, they've openly said that they are selling. So I'm very confident each of these guys are getting moved.
Right, and so I think I would I would still rather have Suarez.
Okay,
but it depends on the team, right? Like, I mean, what do you need, right? Certain teams might need more power. Certain teams might, Naylor's more of a balanced approach, better plate skills, more consistent, I would argue, over the course of their careers. But Naylor also has the limitation of like his left-handed numbers have never really been great. Like he's always kind of been in the past hidden against lefties a bit. So that's an issue if you get into like a situation where Suarez is not a platoon or at least this year, not a platoon, and Naylor would be. So I think Arizona stands to gain a lot in this window because there aren't a lot of selling teams. Like you said, the way that the playoffs have expanded, like now there's just more teams that are just kind of in the mix and can convince themselves. And that makes it so much more of a seller's market. That could be a huge boon for Arizona this year, especially since they kind of know they're drawing dead without Burns. And with Gallen looking like this.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say
too,
by the way, Anthony, is that like, even though we're all kind of a little bit cooler on Gino, if you look at the teams that need a third baseman, there's a lot more competitive teams that have, long kind of playoff run aspirations that are in absolute desperate need of third baseman. Milwaukee, Mets, Yankees, Phillies, Cubs, all of those teams are bottom 10 in WAR right now for the position at third base. Whereas in the first base department, not as much of a need from some of those teams that have maybe more assets that they're willing to trade for. So even though I think Naylor ultimately probably gets moved too, Gino is going to fetch a huge price because there's not a lot of good third basemen in terms of just hitting. And most of the teams with assets are really, really struggling to find a third baseman. And so I think that the haul for Gino is probably going to be a lot larger.
Well, the funny thing is the one team you didn't mention there that I think is interesting is what about Seattle?
Yeah, I'd heard that.
Like,
I'd heard that one
would
early.
Seattle push the chips in? I don't know, but we certainly know that their first baseman and their third baseman situation has been pretty rough this year. And the rest of that lineup is pretty good. They have two obvious holes. Could they go for both? Is Seattle like a legitimate World Series contender with both players?
Guess this is
I think the answer is yes.
Like, is there? Yeah. So I was gonna say, so of all the, who is a team that you want to buy before the trade deadline in a future setting? And one of the futures that we always like to do is like we like to do to make the LCS. I think it's like one of the best value bets that you could possibly do versus pennant because you don't have to lock yourself in. Shout out as usual to that Mets bet we made last July that kind of like saved all of our
I feel like it's like we have to like almost call that out on every show now.
We have to all the time. But so who then and then want to ask you about the Phillies, who then do you think is worth buying before the deadline? Because you're going to basically because they're definitely going to make a move, and then out of it, you're basically going to be having a little bit better value type of situation. Are you in on Mariners, or what is your thinking?
Yeah, I think American League has to be Seattle, but again, like Dipoto is such a wild card that nobody really knows where they're going to end up. They seem to underwhelm at the deadline every year, but they have to look at. Any rational person can look at the state of the American League and think like we have a Cal Raleigh having a career year. We haven't really gotten anything from Julio, which like who knows what his future looks like now at this point. He's been mediocre longer than he
might be Gino Suarez hiding. I mean, who knows? He might, look at
that. Randy's been great this year. They've gotten some really good production from like most of their lineup. And so can you turn that around and spin that into, okay, we are one or two bats away from finally having a great lineup. We always trust our bullpen to come through for us. Like our park suppresses offense in a way that, like our pitching always plays well at home. And they're not that far out of the division. I mean, it's a gap, but it's not like they're out of the division race.
No, and that division stinks.
And it's a Houston team that I think is still pretty vulnerable, as good as their pitching is.
My biggest fear with Seattle and trying to get ahead of the market on them is the fact that, like, if you look again at their team just from a batting WAR perspective, since even just from June 15th, weirdly they're fifth, which I thought was like crazy to me. It's just, again, I don't really associate the Mariners ever being a generally good hitting team. There was some stories at the beginning of the season how well they were hitting, but
especially at home,
in general, they're still, seen as at least, again, just looking strictly from the numbers side, they're seen as still as a pretty decent hitting lineup right now, even though we see a lot of flaws. And to your point, Anthony, like, do we see this management actually pulling the trigger on something we've never seen done before, and actually going and making a big move? I think I know that there's been some preliminary discussions apparently that's leaked to look at Gino. So that might be positive there. I think the Mariners, the other thing that's interesting about them is that people forget you've had really no season that you're getting at all from Bryce Miller. Your Kirby was hurt for the first 2 months of the season. Gilbert has been terrific in the last couple of months, and they've gotten a lot from Wu as well as a starter this year. So from a pitching side, they should feel, I think, really good about the position they're in. I just worry that ownership is going to kind of look and see, lineup wise, we're still actually hitting the ball quite well when it comes from our analytics department. Do we need to go out and spend and make this run at Gino when we could probably kind of get by as it is?
Sorry to interrupt you guys, but I just was doing a chat. 30-1. If you think things hold, and you think Toronto's for real on one side, because Toronto would actually end up.
I don't think Toronto's for real.
Right, I don't either. But if you did,
I think they might win the division. They might be.
Yes, but what they win the division, they'd be the 2, wouldn't they?
Potentially, probably. So, well, Houston.
I mean, they're threatening the Tigers right now for the 1. The Tigers have the same 1-9.
Well, I don't have if you have the thing in front of you. So basically, Tigers Seattle is 21-1 as the ALCS. Seattle to me at 10-1 is the pennant. It feels like a poison number, but I don't want to get into the weeds on it. But Seattle versus Toronto, if Toronto's the 1 or the 2, Seattle is probably on the other side of the bracket. So they are at 30-1. At 30-1 for them to be the LCS matchup. They don't have the other one up. Using FanDuel, because since Anthony's from Ringer, and they have deals, we gotta go with the book that they use. But that's just so you know. Now they're all starting to come together because all these teams are mashing together. It used to be way further apart. It was Boston was 50-1 and all these things. I don't think Toronto's for real. Seattle always constantly scares me because of everything you guys have mentioned of this. The bottom drops out sometimes after Cal Raleigh, and it becomes a DP inducing lineup. Randy's hitting really well right now, but I'm very worried about bad Randy. Bad Randy can sink a lineup.
They just got to time it up, though. I mean, they get good Randy for a month in October, then they
get bad Randy and get good Julio for 1 month, and there you go. You've subtracted one, added the other.
But if you run a lineup out there with Gino, Randy, and Julio, odds are 1 or 2 of them will be hot at a given time.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
I just don't think anybody's.
The only problem I see with that is that you don't have any lefties in the lineup where in a ballpark that you want to try. They've never been able to find guys that can. I mean, Cal obviously the switch, but you need lefties in that lineup. They need a consistent lefty power bat at home.
Josh Naylor's deep.
Josh Naylor. I think Josh
Ryan McMahon. If you want to shop in the bargain bin for third baseman.
Remember, we were crazy about him for a year. It felt like he was just we're just waiting for that 50 home run season from Ryan McMahon, and it's just no. So I guess let me pivot then a little bit. Let's go to our Phils. Who do you want the Phils to get? Who do they likely end up settling for? Because we probably have had this conversation a billion times.
I want Luis Robert. It's not
really
yes,
okay. Because tell me why.
Go big or go home.
I don't think he costs anything. I mean, what is he? You're not giving up any of your top 5 prospects for Luis, Painter, Miller, Crawford, Escobar, Tate.
None of those guys are
none of those guys are going for Luis Robert. He's on essentially a rental, and
he's under he has team control for another.
He's got a club option.
He's got a club option. Okay,
which is not going to be picked up.
Yeah,
it's $20 million. So he's essentially a free agent. You can buy him out. I think it's $2 million to buy him out at the end of the season. So if you're Robert, you've been playing for this awful White Sox team for 2 years. it clearly seems to be impacting him as a player. You know that no matter what, you're getting speed, defense, and a little bit of power. It's an upgrade over whatever their outfield situation is now. And we have said, and I've said all year, like the Phillies are short right-handed power. They have almost none. They're 27th in ISO from the right side of the plate this year in the league. It's just Schwarber and Harper. So they need more power from the right side. He adds that. I don't care that he chases a lot. He would bat like 7th for the Phillies.
So does everybody else on the Phillies. Like, exactly. It doesn't really matter. So does Alec Boehm. Like, or swings at the first pitch. It's fine. So does Castellanos, like all the time. That's his thing.
Exactly. And so you're getting a potential guy where there's like a 90th percentile outcome where he is one of your best hitters in the playoffs. And the 10th percentile outcome is like he doesn't really play, or maybe he's like a platoon player for them who only faces lefties or comes up in a big spot. Like there's just so many scenarios where Robert contributes and the cost is 0. And if you look at his like ex-WOBA versus actual numbers, like there is some quote unquote bad luck that he's run into this year. So he's the first name on the list because I think he would cost less than Garcia. I don't think Garcia is so much better than Robert when they're both playing well that it's like worth, you have to probably give up more for Garcia.
Definitely. Yeah, probably. And also I like that Robert, you talk about like how Robert's not as into being on the team that he's on. He still steals, which is like a really good fit on this team because what this team does have is like guys who, they did last year and they're starting to do this year. It's like guys at the top and the bottom who will steal bases. Schwarber has double-digit steals. Like this team doesn't do that.
It's funny.
Yeah,
contract year, baby.
What's funny is I think actually Dabbundo that there's been 2 teams that are making a very serious push to get Robert, and both of those teams, as resident
San Diego
Mets fan here, I think it very well could be actually the Mets and the Phillies. Both calling the White Sox the biggest. I think it's less so the one of those 2 teams, or maybe it's the Padres. Who knows? I think there's still a lot of interest in trading for him around the league. The question and everything I've been reading is that the White Sox are really trying to hold out for a better prospect package. So if it gets into a bidding war, the Phillies certainly are not willing to part with Painter to send for Robert. Are they willing to throw in Abel into that deal? Like, would that be enough to get it done? You're getting Nola back. I think he's certainly expendable if you're trying to upgrade the outfield in that way.
Yeah. And then if it goes well, you're not picking up the option for 20 million, but like you can try to re-sign him. I think there's options there.
Oh yeah.
I just go back to and Eno Saris told this story on Rates and Barrels years ago. There was Ramon Laureano was in Oakland and they were so bad. This was like the historically bad A's. And there were jokes. And he said that he used to have to became a coffee addict trying to stay focused and locked in Oakland every day. And I just think it's really hard to play for teams that are winning 40, 50 games. Yeah, especially when you're really talented. Every other day you're reading about how you might get traded. You're trying to hit your way into a trade or run your way into a trade. So Robert's the first name that I had circled last year. I wanted him. They didn't really make a huge move. Hayes ended up not really working out for various reasons. But yeah, I think Robert's the guy for me, clearly.
Who do you think
you can go down the list? Like Quan is the name I keep hearing.
Yeah,
he's a great player, but it doesn't add to their issue. He gets on base. He doesn't hit for power. He plays good defense. He would be an upgrade. He'd lengthen the lineup a little bit, but the prospect
Ben Revere again. I don't need Ben Revere. I don't like. We already had
Quan.
Yeah, it's who do you? So I like to the same point, same type of player. Like I want Tyler. The O's are like it's a club option type of thing with Tyler O'Neill. Like Tyler O'Neill's in the same type of situation to me where it's like a right-handed power bat who can really hit lefties. So you said who you want him to get. Who do you think they end up? What do you kind of managing your expectations that's actually going to happen?
Well, the Angels got swept, right? So now Taylor Ward's back in the conversation. I'd be pretty happy with Taylor Ward.
I'll take it. Beside Mike
Trout.
It's
so funny because these are all the same guys we talked about last year. Like we were like last year, like, oh, Taylor Ward maybe, and then Luis Robert if you want to buy low, and then Adolis Garcia because the Rangers are underperforming. But even now, Texas, in the American League, Texas is a game and a half out.
I think Texas actually might buy at this point.
Yeah, I think they're going to buy.
Crazy
Texas is the kind of team that could win the World Series. Because
they've spent like it in the offseason. They have made every single indication throughout the season that they are trying to do whatever they can to fix what was going on with their lineup. And now they're only 1.5 games out of a wild card spot. And you've got healthy DeGrom, healthy Evaldi, 2 of the best pitchers in the American League. God, I'm talking myself back into putting more liability on the Rangers. Right,
I bet
them.
I do. All of us have it. It's crazy.
I got to go buy glue.
They will. I think they have definitely moved into the buy bucket at this point. But I do think that's an important point you brought up about the Angels getting swept, because there are a bunch of guys on the Angels that, in particular, I think Kikuchi is somebody that would be.
That is such a team friendly deal.
Yeah, I don't.
Extremely interesting to trade, and they could get a ton back for Kikuchi if they decide to move him.
I don't know, because like the Angels are not. The Angels, first of all, they're in a perpetual state of thinking they're closer than they actually are.
Right.
But also, like, they're not that far from being competitive. I actually truly believe that. Like, they have a young core of guys that are like all of a sudden pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's
like
just
is a Neto, Shawnuel, Adele. Like you get somehow you dream on a healthy Trout for another year if it happens ever. And you could actually see a core building there. And like Kikuchi's your ace. And then you go sign one or two other pitchers to fill out the back end.
It would move
rotation.
Detmer's back. I've always
been Detmer's has been really good.
He's been
he just becomes your shutdown reliever. I don't know. I don't think the Angels are that. I mean, this season they're going to win what? 76 games.
76 games. Yeah, they're going to be right in that. Our Ron Washington manager of the year futures went up in flames when he took leave. But all he needs to do is come back for one game, and he probably gets sympathy votes. So it totally works. All right. Last thing I want to talk to you about, and then we'll let you go. The Aaron Nola. So Aaron Nola, you have stood and said, everyone chill the F out on Nola for years. What do you think about what's the Nola outlook for the rest of the season from you?
That's a great question. I still think the most idealistic, optimized Phillies rotation in a playoff series has Aaron Nola starting Game 3.
I told you, CJ. Boom. I feel vindicated.
I still think that.
I do too.
He did not, by the way, ask this question to Anthony prior to the show. So for the listeners, I just want to point this out.
But if you listen, I say it every time. I'm like, Nola's starting ahead of so many other people in that rotation in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly like I think Luzardo's stuff translates well to the bullpen. He's got this now mental / physical / mechanical block with runners on base. But you see the stuff. I mean, he had 14 swings and misses in the first 4 innings against Boston on Wednesday. So like you see how good the stuff can be. And Luzardo to me profiles really well as like a 1 to 2 inning fireman. And what I said is that I think you have your 2 aces at the top here with Wheeler and Sanchez, who obviously have earned that. And if they end up in the wild card, that'll be the 2. If they end up in the divisional series, it'll be 1, 2, 4, 5 for those 2 guys. But you only have to fill like one game. And I think that we could be entering a world where Nola kind of gets the same treatment that Ranger Suarez used to get in the playoffs, where he's not going to be expected to go 6+. He becomes a 4 to 5 type pitcher, where
kind of like what they asked Ranger in Game 4 of the DS last season.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, what they asked the Ranger 2 years ago against Atlanta, where he only threw 3, 4 innings, 5 innings. I think that's where he's heading because, I mean, we have no idea. He hasn't pitched. But you trust his arm to be fresh in the fall because he has the workhorse, right? His injury was not an arm injury. It was a weird, like, stress fracture in his rib cage,
his ankle
his ankle, then his
rib. It was,
right.
Very odd.
So I'm not, like, worried long-term about Nola based off of that injury. Like, if it was an arm or a shoulder, we might have a different conversation. And so I think Nola can come back and be fine. Like, the stuff was trending up prior to the injury. We've seen this so many times where Nola starts the year, he's throwing like 91, and then it's like 93 again. So I think he'll be fine. The strikeouts are still there. The whiffs are still there. He still has the home run problem, but I think if you give him like 4 to 5 innings in a playoff Game 3, I still trust him. And then maybe Luzardo comes in behind him for an inning or 2 to get you to the back end of the bullpen. That's where I think the future is for Nola. But again, like we probably won't see him till mid-August. So he's only going to get 6 starts roughly between now and the playoffs.
Nola in the playoffs than 200 inning Nola going in October, where he still did fine by the everyone.
Yeah, playoff ERA is like 3.7 or something, 3.6.
So do you have Suarez? Basically, you're saying like a Suarez Luzardo sort of piggyback in that type of situation, because in that case, like, and it's funny, we really haven't mentioned Suarez at all as part of that rotation. Is that, I guess, what you end up deciding to do then if you're Thompson is you're going to have to just bring him out of the bullpen, or you save him for game 4 potentially if something happens with Sanchez.
If the CS were to come around.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still a long way away from October. I think we will get a lot more data and sample on like what Ranger Suarez's second half looks like. The first start was not good. He's just his stuff is now at the point where it's just not that good. So he has to have everything perfectly in sync and in unison to be a really effective pitcher. And he's done that. He's earned the benefit of the doubt. I trust him. He has huge cojones and big moments. There's no doubting that. But I still think that him is more of like a fireman, show up, stabilize the roster, start a game 4. Maybe he throws, 3 or 4 innings, 5 innings. I still think that's probably the best use of him in a playoff setting. Because even last year, like when he roughed out those 5 innings, but I mean, the Mets had the bases loaded in like every start. So or every inning. So
yeah,
yes, I remember that.
I mean, I think that, it's not a popular opinion, but I think that they should. I think Ranger Suarez's value is never going to be higher than it is now. And when they re-signed Sanchez, which there's a great article in, there's a great Athletic article about Sanchez today, which apparently is exactly a year since they gave him the extension. Once that extension happened, Suarez's fate was sealed because they could have done that, and they obviously he was hurt, but they could have done it. They didn't. So, all right. This was awesome. Anthony, give everyone just an idea where they can find you. I know, obviously, we can find you on the Ringer. Like, you've gotten me way more knowledgeable on soccer, but tell everyone where they can find you, what you got coming up, what do you want to hype, and thanks again for coming by though. But tell us where.
Yeah, I am on the Ringer Gambling Show. We are kind of reconfiguring that in the coming weeks. So very excited for football season coming around. We have different shows, lineups, going to be potting with some people this year, different people doing the soccer show with Steve Cerruti and Paul Carr. And then, I think we're going to be launching more YouTube stuff in the future. So stay tuned to that, because right now, I do miss it. I don't get to do as much day-to-day baseball anymore. I'm not as in the weeds. It's not like a huge priority at the Ringer. And so I've kind of missed that a little bit, but
we'll bring you back. We'll have you back then, dude, whenever you want.
Yeah. I do have a trade deadline piece coming out Monday at the Ringer. And then once we do launch that YouTube, I think that gives me more leeway to just hop on and do some stuff and see what happens and see what sticks. So right now, we're still looking for best ways to do that, but I'll be betting. I'm in the Action Network app from time to time, putting in baseball bets. So that's what I do now. And you can find me on Twitter at my name.
Nice. And thanks for coming by, dude.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, that was great. That was great. We had a real baseball talk, and someone who wasn't just you or I, glazing Eno Saris, which is great. That's
love the hopefully again future friend of the show, Eno Saris,
future friend of the pod.
Can I say, by the way, Harrison Bader sounds like a Philly to me.
Yeah, I saw. Well, he does. I saw he's a jacked human being. I think he's also Jewish. Pretty sure he is. I'll Google that. But I'm 99% sure he's Jewish. Hold on, let me check. Let's Spencer. Let's go to the screen share, and we'll kind of do our Hall of Fame Bets segment. Boom, guys. A reminder: we use Hall of Fame Bets. Code DADS, DADS. You get 50% off the first month. We love it. Especially when coupled with handigraphs.com, which is our baseball analytics site. Code HGDADS get you $10 off the rest of the season being the year. But with that, as I'm looking up if Harrison Bader is Jewish or not, CJ, why don't you take us through? We have a play that we like, that we found.
You cannot filter
on a crappy slate. Tell us all.
You can't filter religious sect on Hall of Fame bets, not yet, at least from what I know. So
he is Jewish, by the way, confirmed.
Yeah. So let's get something in here for the good to know. Was he an AEPI? Because I'll see if he's
probably
might need to be collecting dues for him. So let's take a look at the game here. I teased this way too early, and I forgot we were bringing Dabbundo a little bit earlier. So if you stuck around from the 12-minute mark, you would have heard me start to talk about Logan Allen and Charlie Morton. And it's because I was looking at this under here as potentially something kind of interesting to me, because it's an under 9, and this actually has moved a little bit since last night. I think this was at minus 105 last night when I looked at it. But what I thought, Adam, was interesting about this game for the 1 p.m. with kind of looking at some of the different trends here is that Logan Allen has actually been quite good lately. If you look at especially like his last 5, you see that like that pitcher rating. We talked about this on the last show, but like, out per game, K per game, earn run per game, starting to kind of go up. Charlie Morton, he's been like middling to fine. But when I'm looking at a total of 9, I'm thinking, okay, well, then both of these pitchers have to like be terrible, or both of these teams have to really be hitting. And when you go into recent batter form, like Orioles are one of the worst teams in the league, in especially the last 5, last 10. So you've got a pitcher in Logan Allen who looks to be getting in better form, and a Guardians team that, okay, they've been scoring runs, haven't necessarily been getting a ton of hits, and their total bases are still kind of middling right there. So runs may not necessarily be completely correlated. So that kind of takes me to handigraphs. And what were some of the things that you had thought were interesting between Allen and Morton for this one?
So I covered this I'm pulling up my side of the handicap stuff, but you go to last 3. So last 3, go to Morton and you type them in. For those that are watching, you can see blue. I expect Morton will eat innings, but Morton is just kind of sacrificial. He's eating innings because they don't have anybody else right now. And nothing about it looks really good. Actually, he's weirdly a DP target today for me. Just know. Because he has a high whip, high left on base. So he's even worse when you look at him on the road. And then we go to Logan Allen. And Logan Allen, like you said, in his last 3 his last 3 starts overall, it's been nasty. And then you go to his last 3 starts at home, he's been nasty. So it's just this is exactly kind of what I want. And then when you go to the batter side is really what like sealed this deal for me. Go to last 30 plate appearances versus left-handed pitching. And it's just one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen on Baltimore. Select that and go to do Baltimore.
Logan Allen K's, anybody?
I know. And so I'm just like, I don't want to do extra stuff. In the end, I decided with you that I think that the under is the best play for us, because I'm still not crazy about Cleveland's hitting, especially at a 1:00 game. But look at that. That's just, it's disgusting. That's disgusting. That is what we call combining this. And if you go back to Hall of Fame bets, go back to the Hall of Fame bets screen, go to Logan Allen, his actual like profile pick, like thing. Cause this is one of the cool things I love about Hall of Fame bets. You can splice and dice just everything. You can go and you can look at like strikeouts and what did we do? We did hits allowed. Do hits allowed.
Hits allowed was the one. Yeah.
Yeah. Go to the filter. And so they have a really cool filter on here that is like basically team ranking of opponent. And we can all agree that even if you don't want to say the Orioles are one of the worst teams in the league, let's agree they're in the bottom half. All right. So go to bottom half, do last 50%.
Yep. You want to do last 50%? Okay.
Yeah. Just to humor the people who love the O's.
Sure.
Okay. So what do you have it as? Hits allowed? Yeah. Hits allowed. Yeah. And you can look, he's been very, very good against the teams that are very, very bad. And even if and by the way, if you dip this down to what the Orioles actually are, according to Hall of Fame bets, which I do agree with, which is a bottom quarter percentage of a team, it still looks great. But we're willing to just be conservative. Yeah. Like we'll be conservative, and it's still
2 or 3 there.
Yeah. It's still 2 or 3. It's still 3. The other one's 3 or 4. So I think the best way that we played it is this under. Now, as I look you going through it, I kind of want to add more. So I don't know.
Honestly, I really want to look at the strikeouts again, because that is I didn't realize that the K rate for the Orioles was that bad. So I'd have to go back and look and see.
We got breaking news. Hulk Hogan died.
K rate lines. Oh no. Ozzy Osbourne and then Hulk Hogan.
I mean, Hulk Hogan turned into an awful human being towards the end of his life. So cardiac arrest, which means did a lot of cocaine.
Was Hulk Hogan ever a good human being in his life?
No.
I mean, that's really
I don't know. How will he be remembered?
Who
will be more fondly remembered, Aaron Nola or Hulk Hogan? Both anti-vax.
So let's see how the postseason shakes out for Nola. And then we'll discuss.
Anyway, keep back to Logan Allen. Speaking of, Logan rhymes with Hogan. So there. Oh, we got it. Maybe that's a sign. You think that's a sign?
The that we had
Logan
Hulk
rhymes with
Hogan.
Hogan. Hulk Hogan died. Hulk Hogan, was he lefty too? I don't know. Let's see.
Was he at Southpaw?
Was he left-handed? Was he left-handed? Let me just look. He was not left-handed. He was right-handed. But Hogan rhymes with Logan, so we're gonna. I think that. I mean, this would be.
It's a Hogan day.
It would absolutely be a Castellanos homer day. So, all right. Well, so again, we just went through that. That was using Hall of Fame bets to frankly just find a totals market, because like you said, it's really when you can break it down, you can kind of see a really good snapshot of just how these teams are performing overall and how those pitchers are performing. And then we were able to dive even deeper to show you, wow, the Orioles stink against lefties. So, and if you really wanted to go even further, you'd be able to see that the bullpens are on opposite sides of everything right now too. So, just like we did the other week. So, all right, are we ready for a dad move?
I've almost got like nothing this week. I think my only dad move, which in retrospect, if I'm going to listen to this later, it's going to sound insane, but it's just that if your kid asks to do something on their own, just let them do it. Like it drives me up a wall when I see other parents where their kid asks them to like put ice in their water bottle, or they want to go and, I want to go wear this hat. I want to go do this. Like, just save yourself some grief and just let them do it. Let them figure it out and deal. They can kind of deal with the consequences of when they decide to eat something that they don't like, when they decide to hold on to an ice cube for too long and realize that it's very cold because they really wanted to grab the ice cube and put it in everything. That's really all I got, man. I don't really have a lot. My kids actually are pretty good this week for me. So,
Jake came home early from daycare because he pooped, not like too much, but he had a really bad diaper rash. Oatmeal bath, putting oats in a pantyhose and having them take a bath at that cleared it up right away. That's a dad move that only is for parents, like nobody else.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have
really.
a kid, I don't really recommend you doing that. Like, I don't know, but I've had weeks.
How did you come? Where did you get the idea to even do this? Did you look this up?
I didn't get
someone else tell you about it.
No, my wonderful, lovely liberal white woman wife did this.
Oh, this was something she saw on Instagram. 100%.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
I feel like 9 of the 10 things Michelle tells
just
me
tweeted Hulk Hogan wasn't given creative control even in death. Anyway, yeah, no, that was for my wife. My wife got the dad move of the week for doing that. So, and then my dad move was, while she was freaking out about him, I took our daughter to get ice cream, and that way she kind of had a break. All right. We had an extra long episode, but I think you guys got some really good stuff out of this. Thank you again, Anthony Dabbundo, for coming by. Producer Spencer at Spencer_Ray. CJ is at Dad's That Bet. I feel like before I let you do last word, do we want to buy any Mariners stock?
I
don't know. I just don't.
Let me just do.
I feel like I'm on an island because I think it's Detroit or no one on the AL. But
Detroit. The good thing with actually, this would now be a time, by the way, to buy more Detroit, because they are now hitting their summer slump, and you're probably going to get some better prices on them. But let me just look real quick at.
I think I want to take Detroit to win the AL.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find. You already kind of called out the Seattle ones. I mean, if I'm looking at real quick, like, I'm just curious what.
I don't know if I want that at 21
Mariners. Yeah, I don't really. I mean, Mariners are 5-1 on division, which I think should. I would need that to be in the 6-7 for me.
Yeah, because I could easily see the Rangers doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, and then I'm just quickly looking at like the seeds. The Mariners are plus 475 for the 6, and then they weirdly have some like odd prices. So it's 475 for the 6, 340 for the 5, and then 425 for the 4. So they're implying that the most likely outcome is the 5 seed, which I need to double check where they are on the wild card standings. But that is, I could see them either being 4 or 6. Like they're just missing out on the division, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just, I guess, not as confident that DePodesta is going to actually make a move, or Dabbundo, not to be DePodesta. He's working at the Browns. Dabbundo is actually going to do something. But maybe, who knows? Maybe they decide to pull the trigger. And you know what? They pull the trigger on Geno. You and I both said that doesn't really move the needle a ton for us, anyways. So
I don't like Geno.
I think
I'd rather buy low in Ryan McMahon.
I think I'd rather buy more on the Rangers.
Yeah, I would just rather buy the Rangers. All right. So, all right. This is good. This is a jam-packed app, but you guys got a lot out of it, and you got a stellar guest, and we had some really good futures talk. So, CJ, with that being said, what is the last word?
What you gonna do, brother?